Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to take a journey inside the most complex and fascinating machine on the entire planet, the human body. And we're going to explore a monumental scientific project that's creating the ultimate biological map. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. What if you could zoom in from a view of the whole body, right down into a single organ, then into a specific tissue, and all the way down to one single cell, just to see exactly what's going on inside? What if we could see which little workers are on the job and where they are? Well, thanks to an absolutely incredible scientific effort, that's not science fiction anymore. But before we dive into this map, we really need to understand what's being mapped. And the answer is proteins. You can think of them as the true workhorses of our bodies. So let's break that down. We hear a ton about our genome, our DNA, right? Well, think of the genome as the master blueprint for a massive skyscraper. It's got all the instructions. But a blueprint can't build anything on its own. That's where the proteome comes in. The proteome, which is all the proteins in our body, they're the actual workers and the machinery on the construction site. They're the ones carrying out the instructions, building the structures, and making the whole thing run. So if you really want to understand how the body works, or more importantly, why it sometimes breaks down, you have to watch the workers. And this is where it gets incredibly important. This isn't just some abstract biology lesson. This is the very foundation of modern medicine. Get this, over 95% of all known drugs, from something as simple as aspirin to the most advanced cancer therapies, they all work by targeting a specific protein. So that's the key takeaway here. If we want to develop new cures, we absolutely must have a detailed map of these protein workers. And that brings us perfectly to the hero of our story, a massive, multi-decade project to build that exact map. It's called the Human Protein Atlas, or HPA for short. It's a Swedish-based program that started with a ridiculously ambitious goal: to map the location of every single human protein. And their method is just ingenious. They use these highly specific things called antibodies. Think of them like tiny biological tracking devices, where each one is designed to hunt down and latch onto only one type of protein. By making these little trackers glow, they can pinpoint exactly where every protein is located inside our tissues, showing them in their natural habitat. And let me tell you, this was no small task. The project kicked off way back in 2003. A huge moment came in 2015 when they published their first major tissue-based map in the journal Science. But here's the cool part. This map is never finished. It's a living, breathing resource that's constantly being updated. The latest version, 25.0, just came out in 2024. And just to give you a sense of the sheer scale of this thing, the Atlas now contains over 5 million high-resolution images. Every single one of those is a data point, a snapshot showing a specific protein at work somewhere in the body. It is an absolutely staggering visual library of ourselves. Now, what makes the HPA so revolutionary are its core principles. First off, it's completely open access. All of this incredible data is free for any scientist anywhere in the world, whether they're in academia or industry. This is just turbocharged research. Second, that glowing tracker method we talked about gives them amazing spatial detail. It shows not just if a protein is there, but exactly where it is inside the cell. And that's a game changer. And finally, this thing is so fundamental that it's been recognized as a core European resource for the entire life science community. Okay, so what does this map actually look like? Well, the HPA isn't just one giant chart. It's better to think of it as a whole collection of super detailed, interconnected atlases, with each one focused on a different part of our biology. And it all starts with the tissue atlas. This is the foundation, because to understand disease, you first have to have a perfect reference map of what a healthy body looks like. Makes sense, right? This amazing resource shows you the protein distribution across 44 different normal human tissue types. We're talking everything from your liver to your skin. By mapping the proteins made by over 15,000 genes, it creates this essential factory settings baseline. Without knowing exactly what normal is, it's pretty much impossible to figure out what's gone wrong in a disease. And of course, once you have that beautiful map of health, you can start to create a map of disease. The Cancer Atlas shows us exactly what happens when things go wrong.
And this is where the atlas becomes a powerful weapon against disease. It's got data from 17 major types of cancer, which lets researchers compare a healthy tissue map directly against a cancerous one. They can see which protein workers are overactive, or maybe which ones are missing in a tumor. And this is critical, they can connect those changes to a patient's chances of survival. This is ground zero for finding the next generation of cancer therapies.
From there, we go to one of the greatest challenges in all of science, mapping the brain, our most complex frontier. I mean, the level of detail here is just mind-blowing. The Brain Atlas maps out exactly which proteins are active in 13 main regions of the brain, right down to these tiny little clusters of cells called nuclei. It even compares the human brain map to those of pigs and mice, which gives us powerful clues about how our own incredibly complex brains evolved and how they function. So, okay, we've got all this incredible data, but how does that actually turn into medical breakthroughs? What's the real-world impact? Well, there's a really clear path. First, researchers use the atlas to map a protein. They identify where it is and see how its levels change between healthy and diseased tissue. Second, they correlate that info with patient outcomes. Like, does a high level of this one protein mean a worse prognosis for cancer patients? And third, they can target it, using that knowledge to develop a new diagnostic test or even identify it as a bullseye for a new drug. So you see, this one single resource just accelerates research on so many different fronts. It helps scientists pinpoint new biomarkers to catch diseases earlier. It lets them find new protein targets that drugs can actually hit. And maybe most importantly, it helps all of us understand the basic mechanics of why a disease starts and progresses in the first place. So, as we start to wrap this up, it's so important to remember that this isn't some finished product. This is a dynamic, ever-growing resource. The Atlas isn't like a dusty old book sitting on a shelf. It's a living library. New data and new discoveries are being added all the time by scientists all over the world, making the map more detailed and more powerful every single day. And that leaves us with the most exciting question of all. We've been given this unprecedented tool, this Google Maps for the human body. The journey of exploration has really only just begun. The question isn't if we can find the answers to biology's biggest mysteries anymore, but simply deciding what should we look for next.